Hello and welcome to From the Editor. I'm Mike Shearer, Executive Editor of the Columbus Dispatch and Dispatch.com. And I'm here today with Maria DeVito, who is one of our reporters who covers the, well, I'll let her tell you what she covers here in a second, but welcome, Maria.
Hi, thank you.
All right, so today our topic is data centers, which certainly fills into your beat here a bit. So
Yes.
Tell us, first of all, about what you do here at the Dispatch and what areas you cover and that stuff.
Yeah, so I cover our eastern suburbs in Columbus, so New Albany, Reynoldsburg, Gahanna, as well as Delaware County, which is a new thing I've picked up in the last couple of weeks.
Yes, all right, great. So this story came about from all the stories we've written about data centers here in Columbus in the last few years. And we asked you to basically try to answer the question, are the data centers worth it? Some people say they don't produce enough jobs, they use too many resources of water and electricity.
Yeah.
So we kind of sent you out to find out how that's working and why proponents believe in them. And in your story that is appearing in Sunday's editions, online and in print, Ohio is now home to 191 data centers, with 121 of those here in the Columbus region, which is obviously a big number. Columbus now leads the nation in data center growth and is the 10th largest data center market in North America. So tell us about how did you kind of tackle the story and actually, let me start here. You recently went to one of these centers.
Yeah.
The new $246 million facility from Edge Data Centers is in New Albany. So tell me, what was that like to go out to one of these and what did you see?
It was interesting. So they were having a grand opening celebration. We got there and we were in what will eventually hold servers. They didn't have the servers in there yet. So while the facility is ready to go, the way this particular one works is that Edge works with other third-party companies, and they rent and lease the space from Edge, and then they bring in their own servers. So whoever their end client will be, they will bring in their own servers. So the building didn't have servers in it yet, which was a bit disappointing for me personally, because I was hoping to see that. But it was a lot of people in there very excited about another major investment in New Albany.
All right. So let's talk. So when you talk to proponents, including Kenny McDonald, the head of One Columbus, who just stepped down here recently, they are big proponents of this. Why do people believe in data centers as a positive economic development tool for Central Ohio?
Yeah, so some of the reasons people brought up to me were that they generate revenue differently, and that it helps us diversify our economic base in Central Ohio, that we don't want to just have a lot of one industry. Kenny brought up that we've had a lot of retail sector jobs in terms of Big Lots and the Limited brand, and that those have changed over time, and that this is just another industry so that we're not so reliant on one type of industry. Another interesting proponent is that yes, they don't bring a lot of jobs in the traditional sense in terms of people who work directly for these companies, but they bring a lot of construction jobs and skilled trade jobs that are one construction company, Turner, which has branches all over the country, that they have grown tremendously over the last 7 or 8 years because of all the data center work that they do. And because Jennifer Chrysler, the economic development director for New Albany, brought up that yes, these places don't necessarily direct a lot of people directly. They don't employ a lot of people directly. That is somewhat of a benefit for them, because that means it's not as much of a heavy lift and stressor on city services.
So if you open a factory with 500 or 1,000 employees, you have to get those people there, you have to provide EMS service for them and all that.
You have to widen the roads, you have to make sure that there are restaurants nearby, you have to, other services like banks or whatever industries that need to be nearby to cater to those people that maybe, and yes, fire, EMS, that there's just maybe not as much of a stressor on city services if those
or
need
development needs, as you said too.
Yeah.
So the traditional model of we hire 500 people or however many people it is, and they pay income tax, and the business pays property tax. We all kind of understand that as a positive, and it still is, but this is different. So these facilities are taxed differently. They also have different tax credits, including some sales tax on what they buy.
Yeah.
And then, they also have come here, according to one of your sources here, because of the availability of land and water, electricity, and fiber access here in Central Ohio.
Yes.
Okay, so so the taxation comes differently. You have a pretty good example here from Hilliard too. where Hilliard gave a 15-year, 100% property tax abatement to 3 Amazon campuses. But for 2 of them, Amazon had to pay Hilliard 250 schools, $250,000 one year, $400,000 the next, and $400,000 plus $1.50 square foot for the remainder of an abatement. So the folks out there estimate that Amazon paid more than $2 million to the school district this year or next year.
Yeah, for next year.
So there really is. It's just a different way of going about it, is what they say.
Yeah.
Okay.
That they generate revenue differently. I can't remember if I ended up in this story or not, but one thing Kenny McDonald told me is that we get back more than what we are giving up.
Okay. So New Albany has a whole system that's more complex, right? That
it was very complicated.
And we won't get into the weeds of that today, but they are basically trying to get revenue in a different way than the traditional way we think about it.
Yeah, they have a whole formula that is based on they know how much revenue would be generated from, say, a factory, and they then they have an equation to make sure that whatever incentive that they provide gets the same amount of money that they would get for a factory of some sort, that to make sure that the city is whole, basically.
Mm-hmm. So one part of this that's been debated in the legislature here is that some of these data centers get a full or partial exemption on the state's 5.75% sales tax for certain equipment that they buy.
Yeah.
And they have to be pretty big, $100 million investment and a payroll of at least $1.5 million to get that. The legislator in the state budget wanted to get rid of that, and Governor DeWine vetoed that, which is still standing as of right now. But so interestingly, you have Bill Blessing, a senator from Cincinnati area. They want. He says a lot of Republicans want to eliminate the sales tax exemption for Amazon, Meta, Google, and others because they're wealthy companies.
Yeah.
And so there definitely is a lot of still debate, even among Republicans, about how this should be handled.
Yeah, because as Bill pointed out to me, these are some of the wealthiest companies in the world. So, if they want to come here, his quote is if they want to come to Ohio, great. But, basically make sure you pay your fair share. Yeah,
okay. So that debate will be ongoing.
Oh, I'm sure, yes.
Okay. So the other question about jobs, which we talked about a little bit already, but interestingly, Amazon is now a top 5 employer in Hilliard.
Yeah.
With their 3 centers. So there are people who work in
there. Are people who work there, and Hilliard, particularly too, their 3rd campus is not finished being built yet. So there could still be more people that end up working there. But there was so much information I got in this story. One thing I wasn't able to include was just how much Amazon has just invested in the community of Hilliard, and they sponsor community events, and they are an active participant in community life there, and making sure that they're present and doing events with the kids at schools and doing these types of things. They are Amazon is as part of New Albany's new community center is building a maker space kind of thing, a tech lab that kids will be able to, and adults will be able to go and learn skills and experiment with technology. And so those are just other ways that they're continuing to invest in these communities.
Okay, so 2 of the big questions are electricity and water about these facilities. And so in your article you write, Columbus data centers use about 1,500 megawatts of energy in July of this year, which is more than the energy used by 1 million homes in the same month. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of a staggering statistic.
It blew my mind when I read it in the email from AEP.
Yeah. And that's before Meta opens Prometheus, a 1 gigawatt data center in New Albany next year.
Yes.
So AEP did not want to speak to us on the record for this story. They issued a statement about how data centers are important, et cetera. Yeah. But previously they have issued concerns about the availability of electricity. Yeah. And I think the consumer fear is that as demand rises, prices can rise. Yeah. So what did you hear about that in your conversations?
So one thing that AEP did over the last year or so is they petitioned the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio to basically charge data centers at a higher rate. It's called a tariff in their industry. If they promise to, when these companies, both in terms of water and energy, they have to plan and estimate for how much they are going to use. But that estimate has to be the highest level. So that could be, in terms of a lot of this water and energy is about cooling. So it's what they would need to use on the hottest, driest day of the year. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the maximum of what they are requesting. So But maybe they don't use that all the time. Maybe they're not using it so much in other months of the year. So the tariff is to make sure that like they are paying, I think it's 85%.
85% their highest forecast electricity use.
Yes, even if maybe they aren't
Yeah.
actually using all of that, to make sure to try and prevent regular everyday Ohioans from having to foot the bill for those energy improvements.
That PUCO ruling has been controversial. There was an appeal that PUCO turned down, and now it could end up in the courts, it sounds like.
Yeah,
So,
we're waiting to see if the group that appealed that, if they take it further to the Supreme Court.
okay, so the other part of this is water. And
Yeah.
the place that Edge facility you toured in New Albany, they tout that they use less water
Yes.
than other facilities.
Yes.
What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it's a revolutionary kind of cooling system. The way that they like capture the hot air that comes off the servers, and the way the servers are positioned, it is highly technical. And
Okay, we'll go there.
where I was like, okay, as my eyes were wide, trying to
Yeah,
understand what they were explaining.
But the bottom line is they believe they can use far less
Yes.
water than other data centers that are,
Yes.
5 years old and almost ancient in some
Yeah.
technology terms, I guess you
Yeah.
might say. All right, so that is, so the water may be addressed long term, but a normal data center, you write, uses about 500,000 gallons of water a day, which is
Yeah.
a lot of water, obviously, and that evaporates in the process.
Yes, so that's one thing that's hard to know about, with the water, is that it does evaporate. So how much of it is coming back into our watershed?
It ends up in rain clouds and it
Yes,
comes back
because
later.
it's
Yeah.
evaporating in these, in these giant warehouses holding these servers. And so like, it's not like it's being used through, people washing their hands, going down the drain, and it being cycled back into the system. It's that it is evaporating, and so it's hard to know, because they have to cool these servers so that they don't overheat, so they don't break, so they don't, have to continue to invest more in the infrastructure part of it.
So Columbus, the city of Columbus, obviously supplies water for most of our region.
Yes.
Either directly, like they do in Albany, straight to homes there, or in other suburbs, it goes through that suburb's water system, but they
Yes.
supply the water.
Yes.
So they told you that in 2024, the entire Columbus system, which is way beyond the city borders,
Yes.
consumed an average of 149 million gallons a day,
Yes.
which is up 6% from 2020.
Yes.
But we don't know what percentage of that is from data centers versus normal growth.
We don't, but the person I talked to there, said that based on that number, that kind of indicates to him that like the data centers aren't as much of a drain on our water as maybe we might think, because it's been able to absorb, trying to get all the water puns
Yeah.
in there,
Yeah.
trying to absorb it as, fairly well, of only a 6% increase over that 4-year period.
Okay. And Google and others, Meta, they do release water information.
Yeah.
So, for example, Google said that one New Albany facility used 352 million gallons, which would be
That's for the entire
year, which would be basically 2 days of Columbus water, a
Yeah.
little more than that. And let's see here. And a Columbus site on the far south side used 143 million gallons, which would be basically 1 day of Columbus. So it is a lot of water.
It
but,
is a lot of water.
But it's not having a major impact based on the data you've picked up.
Yes, yeah. The New Albany Center for Google, the New Albany facility by far used way more than their facility in Lancaster or on the south side of Columbus.
All right, one of your colleagues has also written here too, obviously the data centers remain controversial, and I think it's, I'm losing my spot here, but Genoa Township
Yeah.
and
Jerome.
Delaware County, Jerome Township in Delaware County has put a moratorium on new data centers until they kind of
Yeah.
sort all this out. So there's definitely debate going on.
Yeah, and I was able so Dean wrote this story while I was trying to finish mine, so I ended up talking to the same township trustee and got some information
Yeah.
from her of just kind of why. And for them, it is about highest and best use of land. So, obviously a lot of Franklin County is developed, but our, immediately surrounding counties, Jerome or Union, Delaware, Licking County, where a lot of these data centers are, they are more rural, and there is more undeveloped land. And so for Jerome Township, Jerome Township, it was more about, well, we have a lot of opportunity here, and so do we want to invest and have hundreds of acres taken up by data centers when we could have a factory that would provide more, not just investment, but jobs to
Yeah.
people.
And then finally, I know you did not work on the story, but we have a story I posted yesterday about the Ohio Chamber of Commerce, a report on data centers, which is, I guess, best surmised as largely favorable, but also talks about challenges
Yeah.
to maintain a Silicon Heartland status in Ohio. So anyway, it's really interesting stuff that these data centers, which we all use every day with our devices,
Yes,
and if you're on
yes.
Facebook or Instagram, you're likely connecting to one of these data farms.
Yes.
And but what role should they have in our economy
Yeah.
and in our growth and development and land use and et cetera?
Yeah.
Okay.
It seems to all just be a part of the piece of the puzzle as we continue to grow here.
Is there any one thing doing this story that stuck out with you the most, or that you learned that you thought was most interesting?
The thing that was really the most interesting, and I wrote a whole separate sidebar story, was about the jobs piece and about the construction jobs and
Yeah.
how much that industry has been able to grow, and other companies that have been able to grow and develop here in Columbus because of the investment by these data center companies, the true trickle down effect of having this investment here.
Because those employees are building them one center here, then for a year or two, then they go on to the next one.
Yeah.
And it's steady enough that work is basically nonstop.
Yes, and the someone I talked to from the name of the organization is escaping me, but the Ohio Buildings and Trades Union, that that this has created long-term steady work like never before seen among construction workers.
Whereas construction might have a month with nothing, then have good
Yeah.
months and bad months and so on.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, Maria, thank you so much for sitting down with us
Thank
today
you.
to talk about this story, and thank you for all your work on this. So everyone out there, thank you for watching again this week, and we'll be back next week to talk about the people that are moving to Columbus. Where are they coming from, and how is that changing our community? That'll be up next week. Thank you all.